Hey everybody and welcome back. Today we are going on a deep dive, a real deep dive, back to the Paleolithic era.
The paleo diet.
Yes, you know it. The paleo diet, the caveman diet, everyone's been sending in their questions. We're going to unpack it all. What it is, what are the benefits maybe, and, what to keep in mind if you're thinking of trying it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fascinating concept, rather, because you think about our relationship with food and how things have changed over, thousands of years.
Seriously, like, did cavemen really have, like, perfect digestion? I mean, who knows? Let's find out. So the basic idea, right, is to eat like our hunter-gatherer ancestors. Think lots of, fresh fruits and veggies, lean meats, fish, nuts, seeds, you get the picture.
Bringing it back to basics.
Right. Basically, if it wasn't something you could hunt, gather, or scavenge 10,000 years ago, it's probably not on the menu.
Probably not. And, this is where this whole move away from processed foods, which, we hear a lot about, this is where that idea gets kind of taken to the extreme.
Totally. Our research has this whole section on foods to avoid, and it's intense. No processed foods, okay, that makes sense, but also no grains, no legumes, no dairy, refined sugar, out. Anything artificial, gone.
It's a pretty strict regime.
It's a challenge. Like, what's the thinking behind cutting out, like, entire food groups?
So the logic, as far as I understand it, is that it's all about trying to mirror as closely as we can what, at least according to current scientific understanding, what our ancestors ate during the Paleolithic era. The idea is that by, eliminating these foods that weren't around back then, we're kind of like hitting the reset button on our bodies, going back to a quote-unquote healthier state.
Okay, so I hear that, and it's definitely an interesting thought. I gotta say, though, it also sounds a little, I don't know, a little too good to be true. I mean, were cavemen really all walking around with, like, perfect blood sugar and, glowing skin?
That's a good question, and that's where things get a little more, let's say, complicated.
Complicated how?
Well, for one thing, our understanding of the Paleolithic diet, it's not, like, totally complete.
Really?
We don't have, like, detailed nutritional labels from, a caveman's lunch.
Right, of course.
We don't know exactly what they ate, how much, all the details.
Okay.
And then on top of that, our bodies, our environments, everything has changed so much. What worked for them back then in that environment doesn't necessarily mean it's like the only way for us to be healthy today.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. So, okay, let's talk about those benefits. I mean, our research mentions things like weight loss, a better nutrient intake, obviously, from all the fruits and veggies, better blood sugar control, even, like, improved digestion. Like, is all of that really, are those claims legit?
So some of them, yeah, they hold water, but it's important to kind of look at the whole picture. So, for example, weight loss.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely possible you can lose weight on a paleo diet. A lot of people do. But a lot of that comes from, well, you're basically eliminating huge chunks of food groups. You're cutting out processed foods. So, yeah, you're probably going to eat less.
So it's not like magic. It's just less junk.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing with blood sugar control. I mean, yeah, if you cut out refined sugars, a lot of people are going to see improvements there. But again, it's not like this is unique to the paleo diet. You can see similar results with other balanced diets that aren't as, restrictive.
Okay, that makes sense. But I gotta say, this all sounds very strict. Like, is anyone really gonna give up birthday cake forever? I'm just saying.
It's a commitment.
It's a big one. And actually, that brings me to something else our research mentioned, the considerations, right? Like,
Right.
what about nutrient deficiencies? That seems like a real concern.
Yeah, and it's a valid one. If you're cutting out entire food groups, you got to be really, really careful to make sure you're getting those essential vitamins and minerals from other sources. Like if you're not eating dairy, you got to be mindful of your calcium intake, right?
Yeah.
That's important for your bones. And some studies have even shown that people following the paleo diet, they might be at risk for certain B vitamin deficiencies. Because, well, those are primarily found in grains. And grains are, you guessed it, out.
Not good. So if someone's out there listening and they're really considering giving this a try, what would you recommend? Like, what's the first step?
First step, talk to a professional. Talk to a registered dietitian, a nutritionist, someone who can look at your specific situation.
Right, personalized advice.
Exactly, because they can help you figure out, okay, what are your individual needs? They can look at potential risks. Maybe there's certain things you need to be more careful about. And then they can help you create a plan that actually works for you, for your lifestyle.
Solid advice. And speaking of lifestyles, our research also touched on another big consideration, cost. I mean, buying all organic produce, grass-fed meats, that can get expensive.
Oh, absolutely. And grass-fed, by the way, that basically means the animals, they've been grazing on pasture, right?
Yep.
Which is often marketed as, a more natural, potentially healthier option, but it often comes with a higher price tag.
Right. So that can make this diet kind of inaccessible for some.
Exactly. It's something to think about for sure.
It's a lot to think about. So, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. Let's bring it all together. What's the final word on the paleo diet?
I don't think there is a single definitive answer for everyone. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. I mean, yeah, the emphasis on whole, unprocessed foods, that's fantastic. I think we can all get behind that. But the restrictive nature, the potential for, like we were saying, nutrient deficiencies, it means you got to be careful. You really need to plan it out. And honestly, it might not be suitable or even sustainable for everyone.
Right. It's all about finding what works for you. So maybe instead of trying to perfectly replicate what our ancestors ate, maybe we should focus on just creating a way of eating, a sustainable and enjoyable way of eating that works for us, for how we live now.
Right. Prioritizing those whole foods, listening to our bodies, talking to experts when we need to, that seems like a pretty good place to start.
I'd say that's a recipe for success, whether you're, going paleo or not.
Exactly. All right, everybody, thanks for coming along on this deep dive. Until next time.